We are live. Hey, hey. Hello, everyone. We are just getting started. We see some people are still joining in. Hold on. We are just starting in a minute. Hello, Hannah. Hello, Jasna. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you for joining us on this sunny afternoon.
If you want to join with us, share with us where you guys joined from, that would be nice.
Yeah. You can use the chat function out there. But I think we can slowly get started.
Definitely.
And it will be, I think, quite a long thing today. So hello, everyone. And once again, greetings from Stockholm, Sweden, on this sunny Sunday afternoon. You are joining us today for EIT Alumni webinar on how to create engaging webinars. First of all, you might think like, what is EIT Health Alumni? So EIT Health Alumni is a network of more than 2,000 health innovators across Europe and beyond. And we are doing events like this. Before Corona, like last year, for example, we organized more than 25 unique events across Europe, led by more than 30 local representatives in the key major cities like Gothenburg, Stockholm, Copenhagen, you name it. And it's kind of like you're thinking like how we could become the alumni. Most of us, we have been in different EIT health programs. It could be academic ones like master courses. It could be accelerator programs or boot camps. But the great thing is that later, if you hold up to the very end of the event, and if you are not EIT Health Alumni yet, you can become one. We will be sharing you the registration link. But let's get started. So today, I'm Timo, the coordinator for Scandinavia here, and I'm joined with Cynthia and Kush, who are our local alumni in Sweden. Kush is from Stockholm, Cynthia from Gothenburg. They are also the co-founders of eForce, and they have been also organizing 4 very successful, I would say the most successful EIT Health Alumni webinars to date. I don't know how she's serious. And in addition, do you want to say a few words, greetings to our audience?
Definitely. Well, thank you again for sharing your Sunday afternoon with us. And my name is Cynthia.
And my name is Kushbu.
And like Timo mentioned, we are the co-founders of eForce. So eForce, it is an event management group. And our mission, it is to connect, to communicate, and to engage with individuals. And our main goal is to create very engaging and successful webinars. So it is a pleasure to be sharing what we know with you guys here. We had some good results along the way, but we also have some mistakes, and I think that's what we want to share with you today.
So what is the first thing that people should kind of put in their mind if they want to create engaging webinar?
You know, that's a very good question, because I think a lot of people are, when they think about a webinar, they don't think how comprehensive it is to create a webinar and how many parts it is when it comes to create a webinar. I would say that the first thing that somebody should be doing, it is, why do you want to do a webinar in the first place? My why, it was very well defined. For me, I was very curious to know why women are not sitting on a table when it comes to business decision, when it comes to creation of new ventures, why women are not getting as much money as men when they're pitching their startups. So for me, it was very clear why I wanted to create the webinar. But also, in addition to that, I didn't want to get that information for myself. I also wanted to share that information, and that's when I had the idea to create the first webinar.
So that's your why. Before getting closer, like I think that could be people in the audience who are like wondering what's the why. And like in the audience, like I know we already asked you a question when you were making the registration. What is the one takeaway or one question you want to get answered through this webinar? We are addressing those. But if there is something new you want to still add, feel free to put it in our Q&A section, put it in a chat. We're all open for getting actually your problems solved during this, because like I think Cynthia and Kush know that there are so many elements involved in the process that, you know, probably everybody has the challenges. I think throughout today you are sharing like that every event was kind of unique with the challenges on the way. What is your challenges? Put it there for us so we can address them. But coming back to the why, so how a person can, or maybe it could be a team, find that why.
Well, definitely your why is very personal. But one thing that I want to assure you, if you do have a burning question inside your head, somebody else out there have the same question. And even better, somebody out there is an expert that will help you answer your question or even expand what you had in mind. So that's why do not be scared if you think, oh, but what my reason, my why is a stupid why. No, it is not. We live in a globalized world where everybody's connected all the time. We have tons of problems. We have tons of issues. People have tons of ideas. Do not think that your idea, your why, it is less of anybody else. So go for it. So if you have a question, if you have a burning desire to create a webinar, I can assure you, you can do that. And hopefully by the end of this webinar, you're gonna have few tools to create a successful, engaging webinar.
And we have like a number of people who have joined in, like Fusha, Gianmarco, Hannah, Jasna, Julia, Mireya, Stephanie, Susanna, for example. They have found their why, but I see there is actually 2 of you here, and I know that there was 4 of you. So I know that there was a team behind, like how, Cynthia, you managed find Kush, or Kush, how did you manage to find Cynthia? You could work as a team to create this.
Well, I think very early on, I knew that I could not, me personally, I could not create a webinar by myself because I do not have all the skills necessary to create a webinar. Like I mentioned at the beginning, webinar has many aspects and I don't have the skills to do everything. I'm also a big believer of interdisciplinary team. So I believe when people from different fields with different ideas, with different toolboxes come together, we can create amazing things. So that's exactly was my first step. So I am luckily member of the EIT Health Alumni Network. If you're not a member yet, I hopefully you'll be joining us in the end. So my first impulse, like I said, I had my why, I reached out to Timo, brought my idea to you, you very excited, and you knew that, okay, so let's reach out to the network. Maybe we can create a working group to work with you. So present.
And found Kush.
Exactly, and that's how Kush came across, and also Larissa and Nor. So Kush, you want to share how do you found me?
Of course, like through this, again, amazing EIT Health Alumni Network platform. And I mean, it's not just about the working group. They have job vacancies and you're gonna meet your young health innovators. So, I mean, it's a great platform, but then coming back to us now, I found their ad and I loved her idea. And I've always been interested in...
The first idea was on funding, right?
Yes, the first idea was that why do only 2% of the females get venture capital funding for their businesses? So I've been always interested for the business part in the health world. And I was like, why not? I mean, you get to learn, you get to listen to the experts, but then you get to work for the D-Day.
Definitely. And like, do you want to share a little bit that even though we all come from the same health background, what else do we have?
Maybe there are some skills, like magic powers, if not to say superpowers.
We have some.
So Cynthia has the magic power of getting a project together or getting the event together. And she's amazing with analyzing the risk calculations that goes into a project or event planning. Then I contributed with social media engagement. We have Larissa with us who contributed to our digital marketing strategies. And then we had Noor with us for our content creation, not anymore, but yes. So we have this amazing, wonderful women in health, but then at the same time with their creative skills contributing to this amazing webinars we delivered to you.
And maybe digging deep, like you mentioned now a few skills, but let's say there could be people in the audience there, like maybe they have to put their team together. So like, why did you need those kind of skills? Like what was behind that to have that social, like, are they kind of like secret ingredients for making that engaging webinars?
Definitely. I mean, of course, the unsaid thing is that your workload divides.
Yes.
But I mean, there's so many important factors other than that, other than dividing the workload. As Cynthia said, that she knew she could not have done it alone. But then even if you can do it alone, when you have a team, you get different mindsets, you get unlimited efforts, you get reassessments, and having a team has its own perks, which going solo, you might be able to be very successful. We are not against that,
of course.
But then it just like smooths out the process and accelerates your results in a much nicer way. Yeah.
I know that you are also like the expert in the social media. Maybe there are like, let's say, 3 major things that people should think when they're thinking about social media strategy and making that engaging webinar.
I mean, okay, so the thing with social media is it's not just, okay, I acknowledge social media and you just go up there and you post. No, that is now how that works.
So how does it work?
So you need to create this engagement before the webinar day, right?
Yes.
So when you get the idea, you need to start with your digital marketing.
So that's like number 1.
That's number 1.
Okay.
And your digital marketing would include the slogans you put out there, the colors you use for your banners, the images you use for your banners, and how do you make your brand identity? How do you,
the words that you choose to go on your banners, that's very important too. That creates that engagement with the words before the day.
And then same, that overlaps with the content creation.
So that's
number 2.
Content creation.
Because that would make a hell lot of difference. The power of words, you really need to unlock the power of words.
You use.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were so lucky, like with our content creation, we got this amazing, intriguing title of our first webinar. I don't know how she runs it. Probably most of you attended it or you didn't, but then you can go and check out on idon'tknowhowsheseries.com. And it led into a series. So you need to have catchy words. You need to have catchy images.
That talk to the
talks to the audience, impacts the audience's mind. So that's number 2. But then now you have all this wonderful material.
What do you do
then
with that?
comes your social media. That is number 3. Social media comes on number 3.
Okay.
How you advertise, your key strategies and advertising.
So it's like time of the day or like.
So it's the right words. You have it. Now you choose the right channels, the right groups, and the right time.
Okay.
So you need to have that. But then again, you need to be super smart with that. So you have softwares for that these days.
I was going to ask that because I'm sure some people out there, they're like, oh, I don't know anything about social media. How can I even think about that?
No, you have softwares these days because, of course, again, you have to cover it all. You cannot be like, oh, I'm more familiar with Facebook, for example, and I have like 700 friends on Facebook. I'm just going to go ahead and post on Facebook. No. So you got to cover all the channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And then you have these softwares where you can pre-schedule your posts.
So that, for example, you want to be working on Tuesday afternoon, then you kind of pre-program.
Yeah, because you might not, webinar creation might not be your life. You would have a job.
Especially healthcare professionals.
Exactly. We're busy doing other things, but that's the part that I want people to bear in mind, is the parts that create the engagement before the day of the event. And that's exactly why Kush is emphasizing that part so much, is that you must do that if you want your webinar to be a success.
So you need to start advertising at the right time, not too early, not too late.
Yes.
You need to tell your audience what they're getting into, what they're gonna spend their time about. So they need to have the meet the speakers banners for them.
Yes.
So save the dates, then meet the speakers, and then comes your final reminders.
Yes.
Because of course, like all of us have been guilty of doing that, pre-booking our schedules and signing up for a number of webinars because they're free. But you got to remind your audience that, okay, now is the webinar time. And so that they actually show up on the D-Day.
Like you guys here.
Yes.
Yeah, on Sunday afternoon.
Exactly. So we must have done a good job because we have you here with us right now.
Great.
Sunday is a tricky day.
So
Yeah.
that's all the preparation in advance to the D-Day.
Yes.
But what about the operations on the seminar day or the webinar day?
So we have gone through few steps that you guys should follow. So you already have your why very defined. You already have your social media and digital market strategy all set and done. And then the big day come today. So how am I going to be engaging with you guys? In our case, we are using Zoom. Whatever platform that you use, you must know your platform in and out. What your platform can offer. In our case, you have the Q&A box.
For example, currently, if you still have like some questions, use the Q&A thing, the button down there, like submit your question. What else is there in Zoom?
So we have breakout rooms that we're not using today, but it is a very good functionality of Zoom. And we also have the chat box. So if you have any issues, if you have any concerns, and sometimes that happens, so people have a problem, oh, I cannot listen you properly, or your slides is really blurry, use the chat box to communicate with the speakers, with the people, even among you guys. You can chat with each other.
So now, for example, we have people there like Jasna, Julia, Mireia, Stephanie, Suzanne, Gianmarco, and Fugia. Put there, where are you right now? Are you currently in your pajamas, still in the bed and something? or wherever you are in the world, feel free to share with us in the chat.
Because this is exactly, and another functionality that we have is Zoom as well. We have a poll. So
for example, now
we're going to share a question with you guys. And the reason that we do that, it is because I'm just going to give you a few minutes for you guys to answer. So the question that we have in there, so are you planning to organize a webinar? We can see that, Timo, how we have people answering the questions in there.
There are some people, there are actually the majority of people looks like they want to organize in coming months still, like in November.
That is super exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And number are also organizing early next year.
Wow, that's awesome. That is really, really awesome. And
because you mentioned that actually it takes like a month to prepare.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are planning to organize your webinar, I really hope you already have your social marketing strategy. You already have your calendar into place. That you already have your banners. If you're not, you need to start working. So, but another way that I want to say of engaging, do you have a question? And
it's great, like, thank you, Maria, you're calling in from Germany. That's super cool. So you see, like, I mean, you actually have two-way communication.
Exactly.
And please don't be shy. I mean, we cannot see you guys, but
yeah. And what we're doing right now, that's exactly what you guys should be doing on the day of the webinar, because I know I am competing with your dog. I'm competing with your Facebook screen that probably, hopefully, it is on your phone or maybe not. So you have your husband, you have your boyfriend. So if I am not talking to you like I'm doing right now, even though I cannot see you, I lose you.
Yeah.
So you're going to be looking at a PowerPoint. Another thing that I want to say, on purpose today, we decided not to use a PowerPoint for that reason, because we want to show to you guys that it's possible to engage with people, even though we cannot see them through a camera. So that is a very, very important thing to do. So you need to create that engagement. Another thing that I think I want to share as well, since I touched upon the fact that on purpose we did not use PowerPoint,
Because with PowerPoint, things can go wrong as well.
Exactly. So with PowerPoint, things can get very, very messy, and you can lose literally half of your participants right there if you have a bad PowerPoint. And
So what would be your tip in order to
exactly. So my tip, I cannot emphasize that long enough. Do not have busy PowerPoints on your presentation. Do not have busy PowerPoints on your presentation. Do not have busy PowerPoints in your presentation. The reason for that is if I am talking to you and I have a PowerPoint behind me on your screen, that's my competition right there. You're not even looking at me anymore. You're trying to read what is in the PowerPoint. All of a sudden, your phone just buzzed. It said, this is too complicated. What is this person talking about? I don't even understand. And I lost you right there. One way to avoid that, it is have less content on your PowerPoint, but keep your PowerPoint moving. Have more slides, that's okay. If you need to have 50 slides instead of 10, that's better, because you talk, you move, you change your PowerPoint.
So it's like a rhythm, or is it like a dance?
Exactly, it is like you create this movement when you are presenting. Because if you stagnate, you just have one slide and I'm talking, and I'm just seeing the same thing. Think about a movie. When you're watching a movie, you're not seeing the same scene. Like, people are always moving, they're always doing something different. That is the illusion that you need to create during a webinar. That's exactly what you need to be doing.
What other tips are there from the technical side or something like? I know that, like, I think Kush, you said that Cynthia was very good in managing risks. So what are the other kind of
think of the
potholes on the road?
Well, I think we could just go back a little bit on when it comes to the social media and digital marketing strategy, because evidently it's not all flowers. Like we made mistakes, and Kush can share some of the mistakes that we have came across, and hopefully us sharing with you, we're not going to do the same thing. So Kush, can you say some of the
one mistake? It's very common, like it's bound to happen. It happens all the time. I've seen it happening in big events when I find an event's advertisement and you go to the registration link, does not work. And of course, it's not on purpose. But of course, we learned that when it happened to us. Like we advertised this link, and then
2 days later,
we
have zero.
Yeah, you have zero signups and you don't realize that there are no signups. So always, like, okay, again, when we gave you this wonderful strategy for your social media and your digital marketing, you got to make sure that your registration link works.
That's a big one.
So it's like all about actually execution. That it's good to make a plan, but then it's like go through, and also have plan Bs ready.
Exactly. So talking about plan B, talking about slides, if you are the speaker yourself, I really hope that you have somebody that will help you on the day of the event. And that person should be your stage manager. It should be a person that will be helping you. I can assure you that I do have that person right here with me, even though you cannot see her. So as I'm talking here with you, I have somebody else behind the camera telling me, look, your focus is off. Something is not right. Somebody's asking a question. So because my focus is to engage with you, is not to engage with my computer, is not to engage with my dog, exactly, with other things. So, and also if I have decided to have a PowerPoint, for example, if I have speakers with PowerPoint, make sure that you have a copy of your speaker's PowerPoint with you, because that happened to us before. Our speaker could not load her PowerPoint on the day of the event. You guys, if you were there before, but people didn't even notice, because at the moment when our speaker said, oh, I cannot load my PowerPoint, my stage manager immediately downloaded the PowerPoint, and your guys are seeing. But that was only possible because we as a team have thought about what could go wrong with the PowerPoints. Another thing, talking about speakers, make sure that you have a backup speaker.
Yes.
Things happen. People get sick. People don't have.
Especially in the times of COVID.
Exactly. Especially the time. And that's a very a real thing. Like, things really, really happen. So if you have 2 speakers on your event, or even if you have just 1 speaker, imagine what's going to happen. That person half an hour before said, you know what, Timo, I'm so sorry, I cannot be on your webinar today. What do? You must have a backup speaker.
Yes.
Please do that. Somebody that, look, if I need you, can you be there on Sunday at 3 p.m.? Can you talk about point A, B, and C? Yes, I'm going to be there for you. So I think those are the things that happen that people don't think about it before. And that is very, very important to keep the engagement, because otherwise you as a host without speaker, how can you have a engagement? And I think another thing that is important is internet connection. Like you must have internet connection.
Yeah, that it's kind of stable. Like, I mean, sometimes we have had like issues where kind of
that happened to us.
I mean, it's happened to us, but it's also like I have seen some other events where actually like one of the speakers, like the connection was so bad that he went audio only, and then even that disappeared. So it's like, it's also like maybe asking your speakers or teammates to make sure that they if possible, even maybe use a wired one, but that it's kind of like stable.
Because it's very easy. It takes a split second to lose your audience when it's a webinar. So you're gonna be on your toes.
Yeah.
And of course that gives you the results.
Yes.
Are there some interesting other tips that we haven't covered yet, but like you would kind of like one last thing, if to be like Steve Jobs?
Well, no, I think another thing that is important. So is we're talking online, right? So avoid, if you can, lengthy webinars, because we all know our attention span is really short. Like if you must have a lengthy webinar, make sure that you split your speakers. Make sure that you have a Q&A session between one speaker and the second speaker or the third speaker, whatever many speakers you decide, because otherwise I'm going to be here, my speaker is going to be here talking for 1 hour and a half, and I can assure you that you on the other side is not going to be sitting paying attention for 1 hour and a half. I do not do that. None of you does that, and I know you don't do that either. So
I'm very happy to see that people over there, you are paying attention to us. Like, so
we haven't lost many of you, so we are engaging with you. So.
Thank you so much, Julia. It's great to see that you're also from Germany, and thank you, Fosha. It seems like it's great also in Denmark. So
oh, nice, Fosha. Yes, hi. How are you? Awesome.
But still, like if you are like, number of you said that you are planning events in coming months and early next year, this today is now your time to pick the brains, so to say, of Cynthia and Kush. Please, like if you do have some question or you already know the topic you want to address, share with us so that you could get a quick feedback from them. So put in the Q&A or in the chat function. If you're a bit shy to say who you are, you can also send it just to the
private.
All panelists mode.
Yeah.
But going forward, if we actually see some questions coming in.
Okay.
So one of them is like, how do I select a speaker?
That is a very good question, because I would say that is why you need to have your why you doing the webinar.
So how did you find your speaker?
Really defined, because I knew I wanted to get more information about why women cannot get funds or grow their ventures. When I contacted speakers, I looked for people out there within my network that were experts on that topic, meaning a woman that already has started her venture should be an expert. So, or somebody that is just very intrigued, an activist, for example. So the first webinar we had, Molin, she's an activist when it comes to women entrepreneurs. And I contacted her very briefly. It was during the time of Corona. I didn't meet face-to-face with anybody. I sent an email. I said, look, for all the speakers that we had, I have this burning question that if you could help me and educate others, why women are not sitting on the table when it comes to business.
Yeah.
every single speaker that I contacted, they were super interested on the topic because it was very clear. I didn't contact people say, oh, you know, I'm thinking about this webinar, but I'm not sure. I read that you talked about this. So could you help me? No, you need to be the leader on that case.
Yes.
So that's my question. That's the reason why I want to do this webinar. Even think about when are you thinking of doing the webinar. So when I contacted the speaker, I started contacting them in November, and our first event was in March, May. I'm sorry,
yeah.
It was in May. So did you see how long in advance I started to contact people? I said, look, I'm planning to have this event in May at the time face-to-face. Would you be interested? Would you be available? Because experts, they are busy. You got to remember that people are busy doing things. So contact them in advance with a very clear why.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you people will be very happy to talk on your event. And that's the experience, at least, that I had. So, and the feedback that I had from the speakers was that your topic, it was super interesting. It was very clear to me why you wanted to do that. And I think it's very important.
And I think you even managed to do it in a way that, you know, I think originally you wanted to do the first event, not as a webinar, but as a same like workshop in Gothenburg with local speakers and so on.
Yes,
We actually managed to get also somebody from Germany dialing in.
Yes.
There was like another event you managed to somebody even on the west coast of the US
Yes.
to dial in. Like,
yeah.
So do you think like there's even like, I mean, of course, people maybe like physical events where
Yeah.
you can like social
Yeah.
enjoy maybe some snacks and drinks. Maybe there are even like rewarding aspects of
Oh,
the virtual
definitely.
events.
I'm so happy that you touched upon that, because I was super upset, I have to say, when Corona hit it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have 50 people. That was my goal, to have 50 people on the event. And I was like, how can I do this online? I never done a webinar before. I don't have the skills necessary to do this. How I'm going to do it? But immediately I said, you know what, let's try. And then I'm so glad that I did, because from having only 50 people face to face, I can happily say that this is our 5th webinar, and we had almost 500 people.
Yeah.
So that's like a 10x
Yes.
than you expected.
Exactly. So if I had gave up because like, oh, I'm not going to do a webinar, I had never done that before, and I personally, I have experience doing face-to-face events. If I have gave up there and then because of lack of skills, because of will be challenge, it is challenging to do a webinar, but the reward that we had as a group was phenomenal. Having 500 people and like a 5th webinar.
And being a healthcare professional,
Exactly.
especially considering quite busy during the times of COVID to kind of pull this.
Exactly. So we're not even talking about health, we're talking about business. So I learned so much through the process. I learned so much with my teammates, and we learned together on this journey. So, and I have to add something else too. We learned with you guys, because through those webinars, my network, Kushbu's network, Timo network grew exponentially.
Just like sitting at home with your laptop, and boom, like you're out there, people know you, you know people.
Yeah.
It's so much more easier than physical conferences.
Definitely. Yes.
So much more easier.
Yeah.
And people can dial in and actually ask those questions from everywhere. And talking about that, you have questions coming in. First one from Suzanne. She's asking, do you have any tips regarding the polls, that how really like to use the polls to engage the audience, like for example, number of questions or something like that. And I think what I remember from your previous webinars, you had actually some tricky questions there as well. And like, what is the sweet spot?
Do you want to start tonight?
Yeah. I mean, the key is you got to start a bit informal, because again, you are not seeing the people, people are not seeing you. So of course, it's better to have the initial questions a bit informal. Just ask people where they're from, what's their favorite ice cream, are they in their PJs?
Yes.
But then, of course, as you go along the webinar, to keep your audience engaged, it's quite necessary, and I think it's a very smart idea. if you ask a question in the poll regarding the content you're delivering at that point, so that of course the people pay attention to what you are saying, and then people are actually paying attention.
Yeah, and another tip that I have for you when it comes to poll, go back to your why.
Yes.
Why you doing your webinar? Because you wanna understand what young professionals are doing, because you're curious how many people have a PhD or how many people have their own business. So use the poll to also to get to know your audience. So that's a very good way to make use of your poll. You have a question that you have 20, 30 people right there that they can help you, or you're interested in start your own, I don't know, anything. So you ask the people, use that poll for that. So you are engaging with people and you getting answer in exchange.
Polls are great for a shy audience.
Yes, very.
Because
very
no
good.
one likes to ask questions. I mean,
and probably the questions that should be also short.
Yes, oh, definitely. Yes. You people, again, you're competing with 100,000 things. Very good point. On top of making the answers, the questions, short, keep that in mind. English, it is not the first language of a lot of people. It's not my first language. It's none of our first language. So when you create a question, you need to test that question in advance. Ask if you have a friend that English is their first language, send it to them. Does this question make sense to you? Because sometimes when English is our second language, it makes sense to us, but then put like, I'm confused, I don't even understand what this. So again, your copy, the words that you use are very important.
One other question coming in. You became a series.
Yes.
But when people are now planning events, like, should they consider planning it as a series, as a very first thing that, hey, I want to, maybe I know that I will be at home for half a year or whatever, like that, hey, I will do the series right away, or that you kind of should approach by topics?
Well, in our case, and Kush can add to that as well, we didn't start with that in mind initially at all. Our initial thoughts, my initial thought was to have, okay, we're going to have one first webinar and we're going to see how that's going to go. And then all of a sudden we had more than 150 people signing up and asking more questions that, because of the length of the first webinar, we would not be able to answer those questions.
Yes.
So immediately there we thought, oh, we could create another webinar to answer those questions. And kind of happened organically because people got very interested on the topic. And in 1 hour, actually our first webinar was a little more than an hour, no way that we could answer all those questions. So we have to organize another webinar. And then with the second webinar, the same thing happened. People asked more questions. So we had material for a third webinar and then so forth to the fourth and now to the fifth webinar.
I mean, it's our audience who made the series
rather
than us making the series.
Very true. Yes, you guys made the series, not us. Yes.
And it again like relates to the why, that if you are talking to the audience and their needs.
Yeah.
So what are your needs this time? Like, probably you are having some ideas out there. Many of you kind of said like you want to organize events. Please, Portia, Gianmarco, Julia, Miria, Stephanie, and Suzanne, share with us what's the topic of the webinar that you are planning in coming months, and use this time to get free advice. Coming back. Or going forward, depending on the position. What is one thing that one should know that seems to be most unobvious thing that, it's like maybe most surprising thing that you discovered, or the most counterintuitive thing you discovered in the process of organizing events?
I want to say that is definitely the technical issues, at least for me, because again, I was not familiar with Zoom platform at all. And it is not that easy to talk, at least for me, to talk to the camera. Like I am a people's person. I'm used to talk to people. I was not used to talk to camera like I'm talking right now. I know you guys are on the other side, but I cannot see you. So, and I think that's one thing that you need. It is weird. I mean, that's the word that I have to say. Like, it is weird to talk to the camera. So you need to become like comfortable to talk to a machine.
Yeah.
And for me, that is the most counterintuitive. Oh, I know I have.
But how did you manage to kind of pull this up? Because I think your webinar is very, very engaging. Like, did you hug the camera?
No, I
or
just
it's like setting it the right angle, or like.
I literally, like, my first webinar. I mean, even today, like, I like to see myself on camera. Like, what is the best position? What is the best light? I walk around with my computer. What I'm seeing here, what people are gonna see on the other side, are they looking at me, looking down, looking on the side? So it was very important that I became familiar with the camera. So I really recommend that you guys do the same thing, because if you've never done a webinar before, you don't have your friends next to you, and you're gonna look at your Zoom attendance and you're gonna see 1, 2, 10, 50, 60 people, and it's kind of like, it really throws you off. Like, it really, because in your mind you're seeing, oh, I have 50 people, but I see none.
Yeah,
so
it's like talking to a wall, but then you know there are 50 people out there who are listening to me.
Yeah, so that would be one of the most the surprising part to me. I had to get used to the machine, like, really.
And talking about the machines, we actually have a question coming in from audience.
Yes.
So Maria asks, what to do if you have just one speaker and suddenly her equipment internet goes off? So how do you manage that situation? Do you go on? Do you stop? Like, what would be?
I think that's a very good point. If you have the speaker's PowerPoint, you should have looked at those PowerPoint in advance anyway yourself. The topic that you chose, you kind of know more or less. One thing that you could do immediately said, first of all, you should have a backup. You should have had a backup speaker right there to take over. But in the case you don't have, you tell your audience, I have the PowerPoint right here. I'm going to share with you guys what I have. And then I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I am not me, but maybe your stage manager, it is already contacting that speaker. You should have that speaker phone number, email, Twitter. You should be able to read that person no matter how. In 5 minutes, if you were not able to reach that speaker, and I'm saying that because that's one thing that we have among us. In 5 minutes, if you are not able to read that speaker, you should address your audience. I am so sorry. I know you've been waiting here for more than 5 minutes. I don't think I'll be able to get a hold on my speaker at the moment. Something happened, urgency, and I will be getting in touch with you in a later stage. I am so sorry. And you let the audience go is the thing is the thing that you can do.
One thing maybe I would even add is like, it's again like knowing your platform. Like, I mean, we have been always using Zoom. I mean, there are many platforms out there. We see, like, I think even startups are coming out with new platforms for events, but number of platforms, including Zoom, it has a great functionality that, like, people usually are dialing in through a laptop. But if you have the professional version to do the webinar in the first place, there is always option to dial in from the phone through a local phone number. And that could be also something that you send to the speaker in advance, like, know that, okay, the Wi-Fi in your house or the hotel or wherever you are goes out.
You can still talk to the person.
You can, like, dial in, and this is again, like, I think you have the slides. You can just, like, actually the slides you saw today in the very beginning, I was not showing them. That was our stage manager showing from the screen. So it's just like, you can delegate the roles. And again, like, I think this is why you should have a team.
Why you should have a team.
That you can quickly, like, reallocate the tasks.
So,
do we have more questions? Please don't be shy. Again, like, number of you are having events coming up, let us know. It's free advice today.
Yes.
And it's Sunday, so that's the delight. It's like yesterday was 10/10, so it's like, let's say, still a special offer, free advice today. But one more question from the audience, like, is this initiative only for EIT alumni only? No, like
Not
actually,
at all.
like, that's the great thing that I think what you have discovered. I think like maybe you can like come back to this. Originally, you wanted to do an event in Gothenburg for local EIT Health alumni.
Yeah.
in Gothenburg.
Only, yes, and that was, yeah.
And then it's like, wasn't that true that you got even people from India,
South
from
Africa,
Yeah.
United
Outside.
States, yes, that was
Yes.
amazing, because when you using, and that is why I'm going to emphasize again the power of social media and your social media marketing strategy. You're going to reach to all social media platforms out there to find your audience. And if you think about that, people on LinkedIn, most likely, they're not on the EIT alumni network.
Yeah.
People from Twitter, they're not part of the EIT alumni network either. So of course, you guys that are part of the network, you have channels to find our information, but other people out there, they don't. And that was the biggest surprise for us, because we use so many channels. We had a lot of external participants.
Yes.
And that's when I think the exchange, the magic of networking really happened, because we had external people that saw our ads, to saw our banner on their social media, whatever that was, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. They had contacted us. Look, I saw one of your events. I would like to be a speaker on your event.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up creating our last event. I don't know how she lit it. So because we had a speaker seeing our webinar, and she contacted us. So do not be shy to reach out to your own network when it comes to advertising. There was a huge surprise to us. We had a lot of people from all over the world literally coming in. Now after every webinar, I have people reaching out to me on my LinkedIn. And that's another thing that I want to emphasize about networking, right? Oh, but how can you network through a online event? It's so boring, like I cannot see anybody. You need to change your strategy. Like, you cannot interact with people online the same way you interact with people face to face. You need to be proactive. Contact us. If you're not my friends yet, if you have questions for me, you can reach me out on my LinkedIn, Cintia Mieiro. You can reach me out on my Facebook and on my Instagram. Where people can reach you.
She said she's a people's person. I'm a shy person. So for me, this is so much better. The amount of conferences I've attended and the amount of people I've networked with actually through these webinars, like, there's a huge difference. So reach me out on LinkedIn, reach me out on Facebook, reach me out on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then we are just happy to share our mistakes, our experiences with you.
Yeah, and also do not be discouraged because you don't know how to use all the platforms out there.
You just learn. You learn with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, as you go along the way.
Yeah.
You learn with your needs, actually. And that is why you need to have the why. Because when you have the why, then you will know what you're going to seek for.
Exactly. What you're going to need.
Yeah.
I did not know social media strategy before. So I didn't know all the functionalities that Zoom had.
Exactly.
We made a lot of mistakes. And with that said, we rehearsed a lot. Kush, do you want to talk about that?
You got to rehearse. You got to rehearse your script. You got to rehearse what you're going to say to the audience. You got to rehearse to the unexpected questions. You got to rehearse if the technical aspects go wrong.
Yes.
What are you going to do then? So rehearsal is the key. I know this is like,
that sounds like a checklist, like
it
a
is.
pilot's
It is.
Yes.
Like,
it's like
I know
flying
it's
a
like
plane.
talking to the camera, but then it takes the same amount of effort it would take when you do a live event, like a physical face-to-face conference.
I have another question coming from the audience. We have Fosha asking, is it okay to suggest content or questions you want the speaker to touch upon regarding the purpose of why? Or, I mean, in that particular webinar you're organizing, or should they have an option to choose the content freely? That in a way that, hey, I don't know, Cynthia, Cynthia, I want you to join today, like speak something. Or it was like, Cynthia, I want you to tell me exactly what are the 3 points to make engaging webinars.
For sure, that it is a wonderful question. Yes, you must.
It is not like it is compulsory that you tell your speaker what you expect from them.
Yes.
Yes, they might be an expert in the same topic you're talking to them about.
Yes.
But again, what is the key message?
Yes.
And they have to deliver your key message.
Exactly. Yeah. You must tell your speaker. I even go a little further. You need to spend some time talking to your speaker before the day of your event.
Yeah.
Set a call, a half an hour call, whatever minute, not less, I would say not even less than half an hour, because you need to be on the same page with your speaker. What is your why? Does this person can deliver on the day of the event your why? If they cannot, then you need a different speaker.
Yeah.
Or maybe content. I think, I mean, you have like met quite some speakers like making those webinars.
Yes.
So it's like something in particular that how you managed to actually, did you manage to craft the speakers to deliver the content in the previous ones, or like how was that for you?
Well, some, of course, majority of the speakers, when I contacted them, they were either experts or they knew of the topic that I was interested, but doesn't mean that what they would be talking on the day of the event was something that I was particularly interested.
Yeah.
So,
but how did you know like what is the interest also of the audience? Like, did you ask some specific question at the registration form, or? Like...
Yeah, well, that's why it's important to engage with people before. Yeah. Do you want to touch upon on that question? How you should be engaging with people before the day of the webinar?
Because when you send out the registration links, so in the form, we always have this option where the audience can put in their questions. So, I mean, when they read the title and when they see your banner, what they perceive out of it is going to come out of those questions. And that's how you know, that's how you can modify the speaker's kind of content based on that.
So you basically are saying that it's a good idea to kind of get the questions from the audience in advance and then share that with the speaker.
That's how your posts are getting the, the reactions you are getting on the social media posts. Like what kind of, who are the people who are resharing your post or commenting on your post, or like if you post it on the group, how many likes are you getting? Of course, that determines your audience.
Yeah. And then if you, for example, again, have posted your banners in different social medias, right? And then for some reason, a certain topic, you notice that maybe you had 50 likes on LinkedIn and maybe 2 likes on Facebook. You, as the organizer of your event, you should look who are those people that liked my post. Internet is there for that, people. Who are those people? Which kind of background they have? Which kind of work they have. So you can tailor your event just looking on the likes and sharing what are the background of those participants, because those are going to be the people that's going to be on the day of your event.
And this you don't get to do when you host a live conference.
No, you cannot. Yes, that's
so your audience can go back like so upset that, oh my God, what was this boring thing happening?
Yeah.
Talking about boring things, we know that sometimes university professors, they can go on and on. And we have a question coming up from Mireia. How do you handle this, that we have like maybe scholars or officials who are very knowledgeable people? They are like professors of many degrees maybe, or otherwise very high positions. And well, usually maybe they are less engaging with the audience.
Yes.
Like how do you have like some tips, like how to kind of boost them up to make more engaging for your audience? Like, have you had any experience where you had one of the speakers, you maybe did the pre-screening of the content? Did you kind of like coach them, or like, I mean, what is the good way to handle that kind of thing?
I think that's a very good question. And do not be scared to, I don't want to use that word criticize, but to point out that the speaker is not that engaging. That's why you need to talk to the speaker before. I even go a little further. You yourself must have had the experience of listening to that speaker beforehand. Because if you know somebody's really good on paper, but you have no idea how that person talk, that's your job as an organizer to do that in advance. Can you pitch to me? Can you send me a 5-minute video of the kind of content you would be presenting on the day of the webinar? And once you get the material, do not be scared to say, you know what? I know that this is really, because you are the expert on that day, not the person that will be talking. You are the one organizing your webinar. You should be thinking about the people that's going to spend that Sunday afternoon on the webinar. Tell the person, tell the speaker, look, the people that's going to be attending this webinar is a very diverse group. We're going to competing with their dog, with their wife, with their kids. We need to engage with the content. How do we do that? You rehearse with them. And do not be scared to criticize. Can you look at the camera? I see that you're looking down all the time. Could you be moving your PowerPoint a little faster? Because I know that this is part of, keep people engaging. Do not be scared to tell people just because he's a professor and he has a title doesn't mean that he can talk.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can have more Q&A sections because I have personally attended webinars.
That's a very good tip.
Like we had all the young speakers and they actually knew their audience pretty much, but then I attended so many webinars, very interesting ones. And yes, as Timo said, the professors can tend to like go on and can be like a one-sided conversation. But then you need to add segments. You need to throw the questions your audience is going to ask to the professor.
Yeah.
And that's how you just and of course, yes, they are the experts, but then you are giving the experts the platform.
Yeah.
So do not let go of the power. It's not disrespect.
Because you are actually in charge.
Exactly. Like I am responsible or we are responsible for holding this webinar. We cannot waste your time.
Yeah.
So.
And you can do a setup like this that's, of course.
Yeah, if it's more comfortable for speakers.
For the speaker, they say, you know what, I don't want to go through a PowerPoint. So you sit down with your speaker in advance. You have a set of 20 questions that you're going to ask you as a host. You're going to ask, let's say Timo is my speaker. So you just go on this back and forth on a conversation like we're doing right here. So we don't have a PowerPoint. We're not going through with you guys a boring material. Doesn't mean that we didn't know in advance where we're going to talk about. It didn't mean that we didn't rehearse this setup many times, because we did.
Well, we have actually one more question. We have Maya from Stockholm dialing in. And I think it might be linked a bit more on the academical side. We know that sometimes people go very deep in theory, being very let's say general. What is a good balance, in these kind of webinars, which are maybe more time constrained than academical conferences, to balance that general theory and descriptions versus more practical feedback on specific cases?
Do you want to start? Do you have?
I would say all along the planning of your webinar, which we did actually, think like your user.
Exactly.
You gotta keep the user experience in mind when you're making a webinar. So, and if you do that, I'm sure it's not going to be just theoretical.
Yeah. And that's why I think that's a good way for you to gauge as well. It is, for example, when you create your Zoom link, you ask, what is the level? Very simple question. What is the level of education that you have?
Yeah.
Because then you're going to see, okay, I have this professor and he's going to be talking about a metaphysics theorem. And you see that people that for some reason, again, interested in your topic, it is people that have maybe just a bachelor's degree, but they are interested in your webinar nevertheless. So you cannot disregard that. That's actually good for you. Like, oh, I have people that have bachelor's level and they're gonna listen to this professor that is PhD expert on physics. Your job as an organizer is to go back to the speaker and said, look, I surprisingly have a lot of people that only have a bachelor's degree very interested in your topic. Can we tune down the theoretic, very hard words? Because you need to be able to reach your audience. And then on the day of the event, you release a poll before the talk. How many people here have a bachelor's degree? How many people here have a master's degree?
Or which field do you belong to?
Which field do you belong?
Yeah.
Right there, your speaker and you. Oh, 50%, Timo, of our audience today, actually, they have bachelor's degree and they work not in the physics field. They work in the medical fields.
Yeah.
Is that interested? Immediately.
And what is the language you actually have to talk? Because like,
Exactly.
I think sometimes it's like, are those examples relevant?
Yeah.
Like for me, like, I mean, it might be a physics professor, but like, it could be linked to medical physics.
Exactly.
If you give like examples from like a different field, that's hard to crunch through. But like, if you bring those kind of specific examples in a way that it's just like related to the audience, super easy.
Yeah.
We have one last question coming in from Foja. I think it's linking what we were just mentioning a bit before. So do you create like a mock questionnaire for the speaker in a way that like, but where did you get the content for that? It's like you want to put the questionnaire to the speaker, but you use like registration form, or like what do you usually use to get the questions for the speaker, like in order to prepare them?
Yeah.
Again, the user experience comes in it comes in the topic. And then the thing is, you are the expert, and we decide that we want the expert to deliver the knowledge to this big platform, big audience. But then you gotta keep a reminder in yourself and in your speakers that what's the point of that knowledge if that big diverse audience cannot understand you?
Yeah.
So yes, you can take your mock questions from the registration forms, but then again, just like hypothetical situations that, okay, we're talking about something healthcare need or very clinical, but at the end of the day, what if someone from an engineering background or someone from a business world comes in?
Yeah.
How do you make them understand the importance of the webinar you're holding right now?
Yeah.
And that's how you make your mock questions.
Yeah. So the speaker, you need to work very closely with your speaker, especially if your why or if the topic of your webinar is very specific to a field that you know already in advance, that the theory of that topic is really heavy, that the language of that topic is very specific for a certain group. And again, you're dealing with online, you're dealing with, if you're gonna spread that on social media, you're gonna have all kinds of people attending your webinar. So you as the host and your speaker, they must adapt. That's why it's important that you know your audience. I don't see you guys. Use the poll, use the chat, use the Q&A. You also have a different platforms that you can use to interact with your participants to get to know them. You can ask, guys, are you following this presentation? Do not be scared to ask questions. Like, we are all humans. You're talking to the camera, but there's a human on the other side.
I mean, just don't be a one-way street.
Yeah. Are you following me? Do you understand? Is this content too heavy?
Yeah.
Like, oh, some people say, yes, I'm lost a little bit. And even when it comes to Zoom, you have that raise hand function that you could use that too. So raise your hand that if you guys understand what we're talking about. You can see on screen that you can actually use that function right here.
Yeah, we see hello,
so,
Susanna, you was just like raising hands.
Exactly, so you can use that function. That's awesome. Do not be scared to ask questions. Do not do that. Engage. That's the topic of this webinar here. How to make a webinar very engaged, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think most, or like many of the people probably, we see already it's like getting time for 5 o'clock tea.
Yes.
In some parts of Europe. to wrap up, I think like people still might have questions also in the coming months as they are planning things.
Sure.
They can definitely reach you out. You said like LinkedIn is one of the best ways.
Yes.
We have a slide with a people, one of the few slides you see today. So thank you so much, Cynthia. Khushbu, you are currently seeing the full names on the screen. Follow them and reach them out on LinkedIn. You can also add me, Timo or Robin. And if you have an idea yourself and you maybe want to put together a team like Cynthia did, shoot us an email, alumni@EIT-Health.eu, share the idea.
Yeah.
I see that a number of you had ideas for events, like reach us out. We are here all to help you. And if you are not EIT Health alumni yet, now is the time. Scan this QR code or go to website alumni.EIT-Health.eu, become a member, because thanks to joining this webinar, you are now eligible for this free membership to join more than 2,000 healthcare professionals across Europe and beyond. And if you're already a member, but you are not using the platform so much,
Now
check more often. alumni.EIT-Health.eu to discover all the different opportunities out there, different webinars, sometimes also physical events here. Let's hope that 2021 we see more of those, but also job offers and networking opportunities with fellow alumni. There is interactive European map, for example. You can see where are the other members, and reach them out. And if you see other members in your city,
reach them out.
Reach them out and get together, like we are getting together here today in Stockholm.
And I know we have shared with you guys a lot of information. So I really hope that if you could take something out of this.
So what would be the three main takeaways that you want our audience
to
take?
I would say definitely find your why. Make sure that you create a powerful social media and digital content strategy. And when I mean by that, use the right words, use the right time, and use the right days to release your content. And third would be start to engage with your audience before the day of the event. And you must engage with your audience on the day of the event through this beautiful camera that I'm seeing right here.
Well, thank you so much, Kush. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fusha, Gianmarco, Jasna, Julia, Maria, and Suzanne, for watching this episode today. If you want to share also this know-how you saw today with some other friends of yours who were unable to join on this Sunday, we'll be uploading this also our YouTube channel next week, so you can share with them. If you are excited to see what other things Cynthia, Kush, and their team at eForce together with EIT Health alumni are organizing, subscribe to the updates on alumni.EIT-Health.eu.
Thank you so much.
Everything that is sponsored by EIT Health, which is getting the support from European Union. Thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of Sunday.
Yes, thank you.